The Atlanta Braves dropped game 2 of the series 10-4, breaking their win streak at 4 and breaking the losing streak of the Cardinals at 5. Let's talk about it.
This is the Braves Postcast, your instant game reaction for the Atlanta Braves. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yes, welcome on into the Braves Postcast, part of Locked On Sports Atlanta, where we cover your Atlanta sports teams each and every day. I'm your host, Lindsay Crosby. You can follow me on social media at Crosby Baseball. He's Jake Mastroianni of Locked On Braves. Follow him on social media at Shortstop Ball. Also, make sure you subscribe to both Locked On Sports Atlanta and Locked On Braves on YouTube and wherever you get your podcasts to get everything from Jake to Nitra, the rest of the Locked On Sports Atlanta team, as well as daily episodes of this show, of Locked On Braves, and this postcast after every single game. And Jake, 10-4 loss to the Cardinals. It was a lot closer than that towards the end, but I'm trying to figure out, do I give more blame to the bullpen for the late runs or more blame for the offense for missing, for giving up some easy opportunities to score runs?
Obviously, a little bit of blame should go to both of them. The bullpen giving up that many runs, though, not being able to execute. Montero, the walks, De Los Santos. Look, it was a rainy night. You saw some errors by Nolan Arenado, so maybe there's a little bit of excuse there. But you had a 4-2 lead, going into the sixth inning. And at that point, you were through the quote unquote bullpen part of the game, and you were into your actual bullpen at that point. So they had an opportunity there to get a win. But yeah, there were plenty of chances for this offense to do more, and they just weren't able to come through like the Cardinals did.
Yeah, and Atlanta starts off quietly, feels like they do sometimes. Make it start happening in the fourth inning. 3 runs in the fourth, another one in the fifth. And offensively, it felt like, one, Austin Riley just will beat out any sort of infield ball tonight. Two singles hit to Nolan Arenado, 1 hit back to Andre Plante, the pitcher. 2 of the 3 balls, they were rushing to beat him to first. And they threw him up the line. So 3 for 4 night, none of those balls left the infield off of his bat. And the only quality contact he got was a 111-mile-an-hour line out. Baseball's weird sometimes,
Yeah.
Jake.
Yeah, it just happens, and that's seems like part of being a Brave too. I mean, Austin Riley got the fortunate hits for all the Atlanta Braves that they've missed over the start of the season. But I don't think people realize too, and we've talked about it, I think, yesterday. Austin Riley's really, I shouldn't say really, but he is a good runner. He's fast. I mean, 72nd percentile in sprint speed. He can get down the line. If you didn't know that by now, you saw it in these last 2 games.
Yeah, he hit 29.2 feet per second last night. From what I understand, he told the media as soon as they got to his locker exactly how fast he was running. So he was aware that he's running a little fast. And then we see a couple home runs in this one. Sean Murphy continues to just mash. That's his 6th home run of the year. Matt Olson gets another one. And I know you specifically have talked about Matt Olson's had good at-bats. They just didn't really seem to work out. He wasn't getting the results that he should be getting. And it feels like that's finally, over the last week or 2, started to turn. And these hard hit balls are resulting in home runs and extra base hits and RBIs.
Yeah, the one thing I worry about with Matt Olson is that he does seem to have these highs and lows throughout the course of a season. And so my worry was he was so locked in and having such great at-bats, but not getting the results. Okay, what happens when he hits that lull and he's not having those great at-bats and he's in kind of that slump? But hasn't seemed to really hit that yet. I mean, still some good at-bats here. I thought actually some of his at-bats in Monday's game weren't as great as what we've seen early on. But then tonight he has the big home run opposite field, and thought for sure the way his season has gone that was going to bounce off the top of the wall and go back in, but instead it went out. So great to see that. And then he almost hit a 3-run homer, got a ball where he moved Riley over to third. They had first and second, nobody out. And I thought he got that one into the chop house, but got under it just a little bit, but wasn't productive out, moved the runner over. Unfortunately, though, weren't able to bring him in. But yeah, Matt Olson starting to get rewarded for his good at-bats and his good contact. So that's nice to see.
Yeah. One more kudos to the offense before we start talking about some of the negatives. Marcell Ozuna walked 4 times tonight. He goes 0 for 1 with 4 walks. First time in his career he's walked 4 times in a game. And I pointed out on social media late in the game, everybody in the starting lineup for both teams had a hard hit ball, but Marcell Ozuna, because he only put one into play because he gets walked 4 times. His on base is exactly 500, and it just feels like it is virtually impossible to get him to expand the zone right now. He's seen the ball so well, and his discipline is just coming through. Just like he's almost untouchable up there.
We haven't talked a lot about it, but it's a free agent season for Marcell Ozuna. So sometimes you see players have a big contract year. Obviously, Ozuna's already had back-to-back really big seasons, but you're right, the play discipline. And early on, you thought maybe it was because of where they had him batting in the order, and you had Harris and Ozuna struggling behind him, so teams just pitching around him. But now he's got Matt Olson hitting behind him, and the way he's been swinging the bat, that's not
and
exactly
Riley
somebody,
in front of him.
Yeah, so it's not exactly somebody that you want to pitch around, but like you said, it's just been a really good eye. I mean, the walk that he got against Halsey in the 9th inning, I mean, that's a borderline call. It could go either way, but he took it with confidence and confidently walked to first base. So I just kind of the eye that he has right now. Umpires are even just listening to him.
Yeah. The flip side of this, though, and we kind of have to acknowledge it here, Ozzy Albies really struggled today. He had a couple opportunities to runners in scoring position, right? Atlanta got guys on in the first and the second and the third, and Ozzy just wasn't able to make things happen. His hit comes in the 2nd inning, right, to lead off the inning. But then outside of that, it just felt like Ozzy really struggled to put together decent at-bats, get the ball in play, and move runners over. And I'm starting to wonder, with the guys ahead of him clicking so well and guys like Sean Murphy hitting so well behind him, how much longer do you leave him in the 5 hole before you have to think about bumping him down a little bit, as long as the handedness can make it work?
I do think for Brian Snitker, you have to be really reactionary with your lineup right now.
Yeah.
I mean, things have been better lately, but you've obviously struggled a lot early on offensively. You struggled a lot last year. You've got to be reactionary with your lineup and put the guys up there who are swinging the bat the best. And if Ozzy starts to dip a little bit like this, which I think Ozzy, even though the numbers aren't quite there, I feel like he's had really good at-bats for the most part this season. This night, not part of that. But I do think you have to be reactionary. If Sean Murphy's your guy, he's hitting a home run every other at bat, what it feels like, you got to move him up there in the lineup to drive these guys in, especially when Ozuna keeps walking. You want Olson and Murphy behind him to drive him in with a home run, because he's most likely not going to score from first on a gapper.
Yeah, it's been a little iffy so far here. Final note, is it just me, or has Orlando Arcia's defense, his range, really backed up a bit this year? And Nick Allen's bat cooled off. That's why Arcia got the start tonight. It almost feels like at this point, if neither one of them's hitting that well, go with the better defender in Nick Allen over Orlando Arcia, because he just doesn't quite seem to have it like he has with the glove in previous years. You saw that a bit tonight.
Yeah, the range does seem to be a little bit worse for Arcia this year. In that particular inning, in the play I assume you're alluding to, thought he could have got to that ball and got the runner at third. It would have been a tough play. And then Ozzy earlier in that inning too, again, tough play, but you stab that ball, it's an easy out. And just a couple of plays in that inning that weren't made that could have made a huge difference. But Arcia's range does seem to be down. And I'm right there with you, and I've been saying the same thing. If they're both bad offensively, just put Nick Allen out there, because I feel like he has the better range. Arcia obviously has the better arm, but Nick Allen also gives you some speed if he is able to get on base.
Yeah, I mean, he'll do something for you. In just a minute, I want to talk about the pitching, because you got the highs and lows of a bullpen game here. We saw good, we saw bad, and I want to break that down. We'll do that next, right here on the Braves Postcast. But first, today's episode is brought to you by our friends at FanDuel. The NBA playoffs are here, and that means FanDuel is giving new customers an incredible way to get in on the action. Right now, when you join FanDuel and place your first $5 bet, you'll get $250 in bonus bets if your bet wins. Like, it's whether you want to do player props, you want to just pick your favorite team. You can pick specific stat lines. You can do three-pointer, steals, assists, whatever it might be. And after the game tips off, you can combine those prop bets into a same-game parlay for the chance to win big. So don't miss out. Head to FanDuel.com and claim your $250 in bonus bets today. Okay, so the Braves had to do a bullpen game here after the Spencer Strider injury, which, when they called up Nathan Wiles, part of me wondered, are they just going to give him a start, or are they going to go with a standard bullpen game? And you kind of didn't really do a bullpen game. You just threw Scott Blewett for 3 full innings. He wasn't really an opener, right? 4 hits, 2 runs, 2 walks, and a strikeout. Did give up a home run, but I felt like for a guy making his Braves debut, somebody who's been DFA'd twice this year, right? It was as good as you could have potentially asked for, and you were still in the game when you turned it over to Aaron Bummer, and that's really all you can ask for.
I mean, essentially the way you can look at it is Blewett and Bummer combined for starting pitcher that gave you 5 innings, 2 earned runs. I mean, that's kind of the way I view it. I do think you probably pushed Blewett a little bit further, but I think it's because he was throwing the ball good, and Snicker wanted to throw him back out there. He went back out with that 4th inning and gave up a leadoff base runner there. But again, I think most people would have thought, come and give you 2 innings, maybe 2 and a third, which I think was the most that he had thrown this year. He is somebody that I think he went more than 2 or at least 2 innings in 3 of his 4 outings that he had this season. So certainly a guy that can give you that, but pushing it even beyond that, I thought he threw the ball well. And like I said, he and Bummer, they combined 5 innings, 2 earned. That wasn't the reason that they lost this game. Now, as John Smoltz always says, I know a lot of Braves fans don't necessarily love John Smoltz as a commentator, but when you talk about these bullpen games like this, he always says eventually somebody's going to come out of there that just doesn't have it that day. And unfortunately, that was the case for the Braves today with a couple of guys in Montero and De Los Santos. But like I said, I think it was the Montero inning where you had the defense that didn't necessarily help them behind them, but some walks in there too. Yeah,
and De Los Santos started off very, very good this year, and it's felt like there was a little bit of shakiness for De Los Santos tonight. The caveat here, obviously, is it was raining as well. The rain did pick up, and so I don't know. Ultimately, he gave up 3 runs on 2 hits and 2 walks. Are in a normal game without the rain, are all 3 of those runs going to come in? Probably not, but at the same time, it was enough. And I don't really know at this point how to feel about the bullpen. You made a lot of moves for the bullpen. A lot of the guys you brought in are no longer even here, right? Buck Farmer's gone, Hector Neris is gone. Rafael Montero looked good until tonight. He didn't have the splitter there at all. De Los Santos obviously struggled. Dylan Lee actually got charged with a blown save in this one. But I thought, his inning in 2/3 wasn't bad. Nathan Wiles struggled in his debut, but this was just a bad situation. I honestly kind of feel like until the very end there, this was probably the most you were going to get out of a surprise bullpen game when you already had a bullpen that had been taxed from some short outings from starters in the last couple of days.
Yeah, like you said, until the Nathan Wiles inning there, and really the inning from De Los Santos, I thought he was throwing the ball well. And the next thing I look up and he's given up 3 runs. It was really that Contreras at bat that they went after him. I mean, they intentionally walked Newbar to get to Wilson Contreras there, made some good pitches. You had the check swing where he almost went for the strikeout. It was just a really tough at bat. And then he leaves a changeup up to Nolan Gorman, and that was your ball game there. But up to that point, and I felt like he was going to get out of it because, like I said, I thought he was throwing the ball pretty well, made some good pitches in that Contreras at bat. I did want to focus on this because they kept going to the slider. It was away. And CJ brought this up on the show too and the broadcast. Then they tried to go in and jam Contreras. And if you are able to execute that in the zone, it's either a strikeout looking or you completely jam him. He just wasn't able to execute it. And then just a good take by Contreras. But that was the game right there, that at bat. But like you said, I thought the bullpen was pretty good up until that point. The Montero inning, the defense kind of let him down. Dylan Lee, just a lot of guys, again, I don't know if I'm blaming it on the rain, but Dylan Lee just spiking that slide in the dirt with the off-speed pitch. Just a couple of guys, even in the field, just weren't able to get a good grip on the baseball tonight.
Yeah. So 10-4 loss by the Braves to the St. Louis Cardinals. The finale tomorrow, 12:15 p.m. Supposed to be some rain in the area. We'll see if they have to push this back a little bit. They can if they need to push this back. They can. Both teams are off on Thursday. I believe it's they're both traveling after the game. So Miles Mikolas, 0-2, 7.64 ERA versus Bryce Elder, 0-1, 7.20 ERA. This one feels like it could, based on the previous performance of these pitchers, this could be a toss-up. It just really depends on what your offense can give you in the series finale.
And the Cardinals, as we've seen in these first two games, a really good offense. The Braves are trying to get back to that and certainly can be as well. So going to be a tough one to try to finish off this homestand with a series win. But we'll probably see 6 shutout innings from both of these guys because that's just baseball. But just looking at it on paper, I would expect to see a lot of runs scored in the finale.
Yeah, 1-0 Braves victory. Jake called it. You heard it here first. Bryce Elder's going to go 7 shutout innings, just like he did against the Nationals in 22, I think. He had that complete game against them. This has been the Braves Postcast. Again, 10-4 loss by the Braves to the St. Louis Cardinals. Series finale tomorrow at 12:15. Do us a favor. If you're listening on audio, subscribe to Locked On Braves. If you're on YouTube, subscribe to both Locked On Braves and Locked On Sports Atlanta. Hit the notification bell so you know when we drop the next episode going live after tomorrow's series finale. Until next time, this has been the Braves Postcast.